Your Excellency, the Commission, shall we pray? We usually do that for all our meetings, a very short time. Yes, ma'am. Shall we pray? Our Lord and our Savior Jesus Christ, we thank you for a blessed day like this. This is a day you have made. Your word says we should be glad and rejoice in it. For us in this ministry, this is also very prophetic, because when the kings and the queens visited, there was a lot of grace. We thank you for the life of Madam. Please be in our midst. Holy Spirit, engulf us with your presence so that everything we do and say shall be to your glory. In Jesus' name we pray with thanksgiving. Amen.
Good morning, Your Excellency, Madam Vice President. On behalf of the Ministry of Youth Development and Empowerment, thank you. On behalf of the Ministry of Youth Development, Internal Auditor Joyce Kusi Apia is in charge of Statistics and Research. AC is the Deputy Director in charge of Administration, Director in charge of Administration, sorry. So she's our landlady technically. And Dr. Sani is Director in charge of Youth Development. Mr. Abada is our HR Director. Mr. Amu is in charge of our procurement, and then Mr. Eric Akwete is our Director of Finance. So, like I said, all our directors are in place. We have 104 staff. Our staff strength at the ministry is 104, and 52 women, 52 male. So, we've not cheated anybody here. And I also want to introduce my Chief Director, who is also a woman, Madam Emma Ofori Ajibai. So we balance it here. Madam, we have 4 agencies that makes up this ministry. Malik Basintali. We have a female heading the National Service Authority, and so President Mohammed and your good self have done very well for us as a ministry. Madam, I'll just illustrate. Okay, so I'll leave it here and then hand over to your Chief of Staff. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you very much for the warm welcome that you've accorded us. It's good you spoke first because I needed to catch my breath after the 3 flights of stairs. And at this juncture, it's a nice way of letting us put pressure on finance to give you what you need. So we'll do just that. It's only appropriate that we let you know who's come with on the Vice President's team. So I'll start with Amma Pratt, who's the spokesperson for the Vice President. I have Associate Professor Sharif Khalid, who is an economic advisor to the Vice President. I have Musa Abdullahi, who's a political advisor to the Vice President. I then have Mansa Amewa, who's also an economic advisor to the Vice President. I then have Dr. Hamza, who's a finance advisor to the Vice President. I have Dr. Miriam, who is also a social sector advisor to the Vice President. I have the special aide to the Vice President, who's Professor Teresa. And then I have the head of our administration, who is Alberta Graham. My name is Alex Sekwifia. I'm the Chief of Staff at the Office of the Vice President. And she needs no introduction, but formality requires that I do it. Nana Jane Opokwama. On that note, I'll hand the mic over to you. I'll ask if you're going to use the presentation at the back, that the media move a bit back so that we can see the screen fully. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Alex Sekwifia. And so my presentation will be focused on Thank you once again. So my presentation, I've already done the introduction bit, so we'll move straight to the focus area. So the mandate of the ministry is to as a youth ministry, our focus is on the youth bulge, the age between 15 to 35, but we also keep an eye on the 0 to 14 years because they feel directly directly into the youth. So our mandate is to coordinate the formulation and implementation of policies that promote youth development and empowerment. Our vision is an inclusive and highly empowered youth for national development and global competitiveness. And then our mission is to empower, equip, and inspire the youth in Ghana to become nationally responsible and globally competitive. I've already spoken about the agencies that makes up this ministry, so I will skip it. But our main focus areas are on 5 main thematic areas. I'll start from is a pyramid. So the bottom is health and well-being, and that is where our main focus is. Physically and mental health support, including access to healthcare services and healthy lifestyle promotion. Then skills training and education, access to quality education, vocational training, and skills developmental programs. Then economic empowerment. In Akanya say, so economic empowerment, access to employment opportunities, entrepreneurship training, and financial literacy programs. Then civic engagement, opportunities for young people to participate in decision-making processes, to volunteer their services and engage in community service. And then personal development and leadership. We need to produce the next leaders who will take over from us. And so these are the 5 main areas that the ministry focuses on. Your Excellency, the ministry was established by Executive Instrument 2025, E1 2025. And like I said, all the functional directorates have been established, all our governing boards have been inaugurated. 2 or 3 of His Excellency's flagship programs sit with us. The National Apprenticeship Program, which is ongoing, and I'll give details later on. The Jumera program, which is also ongoing. The only one that should have started last year. We've done everything, but finance have not released funds yet. Is the National Service Military Training. But we are still in touch with the Finance Minister, and he's assured us that this year we will have the funds to roll that program out. We are also working on digital innovation, so we've learned what we call the Youth Explorer app and the dashboard to be able to monitor all the programs across this country that involves young people. We did this to stop duplication and also get effectiveness and then get the best out of the services that government is rendering. So we have the Youth Explorer, we have the Youth Information Portal. All these were launched within the 1 year that we've been in office to support information dissemination. And then our health campaign, we've launched a campaign called Red Means Stop to help fight the drug menace on our markets. So as a ministry, because we were new, we didn't have any information when we came in. And getting information has always been challenging. So we decided to research on topical issues that affect young people. So we did one on health and well-being. We did one on alcohol, drugs, and substance abuse in our tertiary and second cycle institutions. Then we did a research on education, skills development, and economic empowerment of young people. Then we did one to understand the Ghanaian youth aspirations, a study on personal development, leadership, and civic responsibility. Your Excellency, His Excellency the President has launched the Feed Ghana program, and we know that agriculture has the potential of giving us many jobs, and the agri ecosystem can create a lot of jobs for young people. So together with AGRA, we launched what we call the Attractive campaign. How do we make agriculture attractive to young people so young people venture into agriculture? So on the National Apprenticeship Program, the program was launched on the 30th of April 2025. Last year, we were given a budgetary allocation of 300 million, including CAPEX, 240 million for the program and 60 million for CAPEX. When we opened the portal, over 230,000 young people applied for the National Apprenticeship Program. Unfortunately, the amount of money that was given to us could only train 10,000, but we managed to push it to 14,000. So currently we have 14,000 people on the program. The challenge is that this year, we promised we were going to do 100,000. When His Excellency launched this, the conversation was that we're going to increase the numbers to do 100,000 this year. Unfortunately, our budget was slashed from 240 million to 150 million. And if you look at the presentation, the target of 100,000 cannot be achieved. The average training cost, because we pay stipends as well, we give them startups, is 23,200 cedis to train one person. for 5 or 6 months, including the stipend that you pay and all the startup kits. So averagely, we need 2.3 billion to be able to train the 100,000. So we have a difference of 2 billion, 150 million cities. So that's the funding gap to be able to train the 100,000 that we promised the good people of this country that we're going to do. And so based on the budgets that we have this year, we are only able to do about 6,000. Then the General program, one of His Excellency's flagship program that supports entrepreneurship. That one, so the program was launched last year. We had over 120,000 youth applying. Currently, we are training 10,000 based on the budgetary allocation we got, and we are using 124 hubs across the country. The good news is that a lot of our major universities are on board, and so we are working closely with our universities, our technical universities, and then some private hubs that are out there to support us. There too, you can see that the amount of money that has been allocated and the number of people we want to train and support with funding. So this 10,000 we are training, we can only support 2,000 with funding through the Dimera program. But the rationale behind the Dimera program was to train and also provide funding for as many as we can. We are training 10,000, we can only provide funding for 2,000. Here too, we have a difference of about, this year they were giving 150 million, and so there is a variance of about 89 million that we must find to be able to train all the numbers and give them the support they need. The next slide is the Youth Explorer app I spoke to you about earlier on. This is an app that was launched by the ministry to be is AI embedded, and the AI is trained locally, so it has Ghanaian data working. So when you go into the app, what the app does is to be able to match your skills with opportunity, your profile. There are some skills you have you may not have certificates for, but when you enter all that on the app is able to match your skills and tell you where the opportunities. And there are so many remote jobs around the world. The app helps you search for jobs anywhere in the world, and then you're able to come on board. We also have a portal, so in the comfort of my office or my laptop, I see what YEA is doing, I see what MEIP is doing, I see what every other agency is doing. The reason why this is important is to stop the issue of duplication. Previously, you realize that a lot of people are able to access information, very few. And so he presents a proposal to MEIP, takes funding from MEIP. That same proposal finds its way to NYE, takes funding. That same proposal goes to YE, takes funding. And so the opportunities were not being shared. Very few people, but with this app, once NYE gives you one CD, your whole information, your Ghana card, everything is on the app. So immediately you apply with YE, the app flags you, and all the agencies are on the app. We are also working together with other ministries that also have some kind of assistance to young people, and we put all of them on the app. So we're able to assess in real time what is happening anywhere. So on the dashboard, I see how many people. So when we say we've created 10,000 jobs, in real time, you're able to assess, and anybody is able to check and verify, so that we don't continue to pay this service to our young people anymore. It's stop campaign. And so far, so good. It's just that funding, once again, is a challenge, but we are still on the road working very hard. And we've done some work on substance abuse. We got Global Info Analytics to do some research for us, because we wanted to be very sure that what we are hearing, is it just what is happening globally, or we have a real situation on hand. So we got Global Info Analytics to go into our tertiary institutions. We looked at nursing training, teacher training, technical universities, and then our traditional universities as well. And the graph you have out there shows that 41% of our tertiary students are aware that substances are being abused on their campuses. 41%. And in our second cycle schools, 37% are also aware that substances are being used. And so the data, we have the schools, we have all the baseline information that was used. Then we also get further to find out at what age and at what stage do people get access to this substance. So under 15, 26% of the people we spoke to in our secondary schools are aware that substances are on their campuses. 41% between the ages of 16 and 17 years. That is when they first used drugs. And then 18 to 19 is 25%. You realize that when they are getting older, the number reduces. So at 20, it's just 8%. And then when you look at the full report, the older they get, when they get old, they don't start using drugs. But it is at a very young age that they use the drugs. And then we look at which drugs are commonly available on our various tertiary campuses. Alcohol was in the lead. Then the weed edibles, cookies, cakes, toffees, tea, sobolo drink, that was second. Shisha and hookah was the third. Then the weed itself was involved. Then cigarettes, prescription drugs. Surprisingly, 70% of our tertiary students are aware of the use of cocaine, and 5% are aware of the use of heroin on their campuses. Then we looked at things that were mitigating against young people. Mental health. So we did a report on mental health. We realized that depression is one of the things that was mitigating against young people. And as of 2024, depression was high. Then anxiety. When you look at the depression and anxiety, we drove further to find out what was leading to it. So lifestyle, peer pressure. But one of the things that came up strongly was betting. Betting, yes. Cha-cha. Betting. When you bet, you get anxious. And when you lose money, it can lead to depression. And so we scheduled a meeting with the Gaming Commission. Next week, we are meeting with them. What we've also done is we've shared a report with all the various agencies that have something to do. And so we are engaging them to see how we can find solutions to some of the problems that is there. Another thing that we also found out was accidents was also taking a lot of young lives, and even with the accident, realized that a lot of males were dying. And when we drove further, I realized that Okada is one of the reasons, because a lot of young men ride Okada, and when they go up and down, we need to do a bit more education with road users. Drivers don't care about motor riders. We don't care, and they are also a bit reckless. And so that is what is leading to. And we also saw what happened in the Ashanti region when young people lost their lives. So a lot of young people are dying. The statistics is a bit scary when you go further and you look into it. Then we looked at educational issues, attainment of education. I won't bore you with all that, but we wanted to understand what is really happening within the space. So what we saw was that a lot of our young people who have completed senior high school have been caught up. They've not been able to do the transition into tertiary. And so they are in there, and they are also not interested in learning any vocation or trade. We also saw that there was a disconnect between vocational and technical education and STEM. And we need to be able to marry the two. And so all this were things we discovered. And then we looked at unemployment rates. We realized that the 22.5% youth unemployment, there are a lot of females who are unemployed than male. And it is also higher in the urban areas than in the rural areas. Surprisingly, we realize that a lot of people who don't have higher education but have maybe very little education readily get jobs because they are willing to learn vocations because they've not had the benefit of classroom education. So whatever is available, they are willing to learn. I realize that a lot of our young people are falling into vulnerable jobs. And then we did one on understanding. We should be able to push many more. We should be able to push many more young people to be active. And so we need to do more. And the ministry is going to take out that challenge with the National Youth Authority to reorient them. The military training I spoke to you about. One of the things we wanted to use the military training to do when we were at the manifesto stage was to inculcate into young people the sense of discipline and other things. But as I told you, it's still pending. And so one of the things we want to intervention is to speak to the finance minister to be able to release funds so that we're able to roll out. Sadly, 72% of our youth are considering leaving the shores is more important than a PhD. That argument. But we need to do more to be able to reverse that mindset. And we believe that with the improvement in the economic outlook, maybe next year, this is our belief that we did this in 2025. So this year, when we find funding, we'll do again, and then we'll be able to measure and see whether any changes have occurred. But our challenges, things that are mitigating against that as a new ministry. Our programs are underfunded, and if you look at the population dynamics, this is Ghana, the youth ministry. I say that more or less I minister for half of this country, because between the ages of 0 to 14 and 15 to 35, there's about 68% of the total population. Yet, this is a ministry that is less funded. If I tell you my budget allocation for last year, you will laugh at us. But we are willing to do more and push so that we get the programs running. If we're able to fund the YEA, what we've been advocating for is that the 80% communication service tax should be given to the ministry and its agencies. Because that money, per the law, was to support youth development. And if we are giving all that amount, we are able to fund YEA to run many more models, the NEIP, and then the National Youth Authority, so that all our programs will be given. Labor, there's a program that Ministry of Labor used to run, Labor something, where people within the communities, every country, labor intensive public work, where we have a lot of artisans, and we are still training more. Yet contractors come and bring in people from outside, and so the local economies are not supported. If we look at that policy properly, for instance, the big picture has the potential of creating close to 800,000 jobs based on what we have done within each catchment area and who define themselves. If they only engage the locals to be part of whatever they are doing, then the mismatch between education and jobs, which I know as minister you were working on when you were the minister for education, and so it's still a problem that is still there. And we believe that collaboration between education and industry will be able to resolve. When our advisory committee met, Professor Udro is a member of the advisory committee of the ministry. And one of the things when we were discussing our report and our findings, one of the things he raised was that a lot of the schools are still doing the programs that attract many more people but do not have jobs readily available because of IGF. Because the schools derive a lot of IGF from those programs. If we do STEM and we do technical and vocational education, so how do we get our schools to begin to look at that? Because in the long run, it affects young people, because what is available is what they go and do. And then they can't find jobs with the kind of skills they have. Then the drug menace among young people. We intend to intensify our campaign and work harder. High youth unemployment, the youth bracket. We intend to the introduction of more targeted programs. And Your Excellency, here too, we need your support. We want to review the programs that have been running so far. The YE over the years have run certain models, and some are good, but we believe strongly that it has, after the number of years that they've been running, we need to do an assessment of these programs and see what the impact has been. Luckily for us, the World Bank, under the previous administration, commissioned a report. The report is ready. And so they've shared it with us, but it looks like the Ministry of Finance does not want to continue. We are not interested in the whole program. We are only interested in the report because they've done an assessment of all the youth-related programs that have been run in the last 10 years. And so we want that report, and then we do a validation of the report. And then we still, if we don't use that report, the state will still have to spend money to do an assessment of all the programs we've run so far to assess the impact of the programs. But one has already been done. But the finance ministry, yesterday we engaged with the deputy finance minister. It looks like it's not a program they want to continue. We are not interested in the whole program. We're only interested in that report and then doing a validation of it. And the World Bank is willing to support us do the validation so that we assess what we've been able to do so far in the last 10 years, what its impact has been, and what we need to do to improve upon the program. And so we will need your intervention in that respect. And then the issue of youth migration is also a problem. Even though the government is coming out with the labor exchange program, we intend to streamline it. The YEA is running the youth exchange program, the labor exchange program. We intend to streamline it to get some of our young people out, but in a very dignified way and in a very proper structured manner. Our medium-term priorities is implementation of government flagship programs, mobilization of resources to support youth intervention, empower the youth through access to our information, explore the various sectors that we work with. Our ministry is more or less a coordination ministry, and so sometimes we have to work with other ministers to be able to pass and get our work across. And so we also need you to speak to the other ministers, and when we come to them as a ministry, one of the things we've taken upon ourselves that we want to start the legal framework for a voluntary organization that the state can rely on and then use it effectively, and then generate evidence to support the decisions we make. Strengthen school to work transition, that is our national service program. Support agencies to deliver on this mandate, strengthen monitoring and evaluation in all the sectors, and then strengthen startups to support youth entrepreneurs. Your Excellency, if you recall, as part of our manifesto promise, we promised that we'll set up an entrepreneurship fund that will support young entrepreneurs. That promise is still outstanding. It is a 4-year mandate. Next year, we'll plead with you that when I've gone to the finance minister severally, myself and Eric, to get that fund established. So next year, when he's doing the budget, we should set aside something small for us to start that fund so that we can get support for young entrepreneurs. Our young entrepreneurs are doing very well, but sometimes it comes down to the issue of funding. And then collaborate with the Ministry of Domestic. We send jobs for our young people, but a lot of our young people are being abused in people's houses. Domestic work. There is already a law. An LI has been passed, but it looks like successive governments have not had the courage to operationalize the LI. I want to bring it to His Excellency's attention. We have a lot of eyes to equip and to inspire young people of this country. Thank you very much.
For some of us, there have been some reservations, so thank you for that. At this juncture, I will, with all humility, hand over to the Vice President to pass the comments on what you have said. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alex, and good morning to everyone who is here. I'm particularly excited being here because this is one of the ministries that I was very, very happy that we put in our manifesto. And maybe those of us who have been blessed to work around the youth or with the youth, we're speaking for myself all my life, I have no doubt about what the youth can do in this country. All you need is to give them a little bit of push, and you'll be amazed what they will do. The youth of Ghana are very, very innovative, and I believe that you have a lot to offer this country. I'm not surprised about all the things you have talked about. I'm not surprised at all. And I'm very happy that even in your setup, you have gone beyond the affirmative action 30% and you have done 50%. I think this is very, very impressive. And I want to encourage you to keep that up. Definitely, in your sector, you'll be working with everybody and everything. It's almost like the gender and the women and the children. I know that normally when we talk about the children, automatically we all consider the boys and the girls. But for a very strange reason, maybe just me, when we talk about the youth, sometimes we don't remember the girls so much. That is why I'm so happy to see that you have taken a very, very conscious effort to redress this unnecessary imbalance. So I want to congratulate you for that. And as I said, the youth is everywhere. Where are you not? It's like women, where are we not? Okay, so you have to collaborate with every ministry. And I hear you about supporting you to work with the other ministries. You can count on us. Because we must all recognize that the work we do dovetails into each other's area. And there's nothing about my territory or your territory. It is about the territory of the country and the well-being of the people who live in this country. So wherever we are put is for the purposes of planning. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's our, what do we call it? That it's our space and it's our ministry and it's our, it is the nation that must take that central role in the impact of the work that we do. So definitely, as I said, youth is in education, in health, in agriculture, industry, security. Where are you not? You are everywhere. So it makes your work a little bit more challenging. But I think that in the long run, it also makes it more satisfying, knowing that you can reach almost everywhere and every corner. In terms of, let's say, industry, for example, industry is not one thing. It's many, many things. Almost like education is never one thing. I hear you on your reports that you gave, and sometimes maybe some of us see gaps in the sense that when we're talking about our youth, yes, we are very interested in our children who are learning at different levels of their own self-expression. But I'm also always very interested in those who are not in school. I'm interested in the young person who is pushing the wheelbarrow in the market. The person by the roadside who has 4, 5 tubers of yam on one arm. How about this person? How do we factor in his own dreams? What are they? You see, so all I'm doing is to draw all our attention to the fact that the youth, women, children, education, whatever, should cover everybody. And even more so, those who are falling through the cracks. Those that we don't seem to be paying as much attention to as we should. It will be very interesting to find out how about the use of violence or drugs in these other areas. And those of us who've been friends with the mental hospitals for a long time, there's so much that you hear and you know. So I just want to raise this out there. I also hear in all the things you are doing, and we are very, very proud to see you, giving your reports and all of them, and you put the smiles on our faces, and we want to encourage you to do even more of the work that you are doing and doing very well. One area I want to suggest is that we also pay attention to tracking studies. All these interventions that have come before us, those we are doing now, how do we measure the impact? When we are able to measure the impact, then we know how to sustain and how to extend. So the tracking studies, maybe for our researchers, it is something that they can help us to do. So we know what are the applicants becoming. Okay, so what did we foresee at the beginning, and how do we track that we are on course? And it's not something that only you have to do. Your researchers, I'm sure, will be very happy to do that. And I hear you on all your budgetary constraints, and not that I'm making excuses, but I just want us all to be very mindful about our situation, let's say not too long ago. Just recently, we used so much money just to pay debts. And I was sitting there telling myself, oh, I wish half of that money was given to me. And what would I have used it for? Maybe not for the women's bank here. That's in the offering. At the right time, we'll talk about it. But I would have been happy just to go to the public primary schools and make nice playgrounds for the children. The children also learn through play, and all of that. But I'm just saying that there are a few issues. So we should be interested in ways in which we can grow the national pie. I keep saying, I think I've said that elsewhere, that I'm not so much interested in apportioning what we have. I'm interested in ensuring that what we have gets bigger. Grow the economy, that's where you also come in. That's also as important. So I hear you also on the use, the misuse, the drugs and so on. And so another area I believe you're working with already with the Food and Drugs Administration. I just ask myself, how did these drugs get into our country? Did we produce them locally? I don't know. If we are not producing them locally, then they are coming from somewhere. How do they get to us? Public, we see that after a certain age, they realize that this is not very helpful. But we need to protect our children so they know early on that this is not going to help them. Sometimes it's not everything that you can fix when you break it. Okay? And sometimes fixing becomes impossible. We love all our children. We don't want them to suffer unnecessarily. So public education is going to be very, very important for us to ensure that we are protecting ourselves and each other. You also talked about employment. Yes, I'm very interested in the LI. Sometimes somebody is working for you in your home. What gives you the right to abuse that person? And as you said, it's a lot of the girls who suffer silently sometimes. Okay? For reasons of how the arrangement was made in the first place. The person is serving you. You shouldn't look at the person and say, you are doing the person a favor. The person is rather doing you a favor. And whatever the case, at least respect for each other, respect for ordinary human beings, and respect for those in vulnerable situations should be of interest to all of us. So yes, the swapping of exchange, labor exchange is very important. And going forward, we want to be very, very intentional and very, very careful about that. People being sent out should have the right protections. Okay? Somebody should be holding their back. We don't want to see stories in the papers about somebody who is locked in a room, who is not being fed, and a whole lot of things, or who doesn't even have any decent place to sleep. I mean, I'm not the only one who hears them. We all hear them. So it becomes government's responsibility, and we need the public to to cooperate and to collaborate with us to ensure that we can protect each other. The fact that somebody wants to go abroad, this particular country's passport is more on, maybe not. But if you ask me, as a person, I'll be very, very interested if we all have experience of lives away from what we know. If nothing at all, you get into a position where you can evaluate what you thought you didn't have. And speaking for myself, I don't know how this will be reported, but I'll say it anyway. Until I lived abroad, I thought that, our food was so uninteresting and that there was no variety. Until I traveled and realized that some people have only 2 items. And look at what they do with them. So, yeah, So I asked myself, but for us, tubers alone, look at the variety. Vegetables, look at them, and so on and so forth. So then you begin, at the very least, you begin to appreciate the sort of things you took for granted even more than you did. So I want to thank you for your fine presentation and to pledge that we are there for you and we'll be very happy to support. But before I close, I need to explain why we are here. We are here because I know that you can come to us and there's nothing wrong with that. You can always come. But we also want to close the gap between us and you. Okay? That is why we are here. At least I didn't even know where your office was. Yes, I've seen some of their faces, but not all of them. Today I'm privileged to have that. So at least for that reason, I'm very happy to be here. I'm supposed to be interested in all of you, and I'm very happy to do that. I know that some of my colleagues don't understand why I have not visited them. And so this is a time for me to explain a little bit. I haven't mentioned your name. But I was supposed to pay special attention to some ministries. One is education, which is also your focus. Another is health, interestingly. And the other one is gender, children, again. So you see how the ministries speak to each other. So these were the three I was supposed to pay special attention to. So this is why I visited them first. So it wasn't because I didn't like you or anything like that. I was just trying to respond to the orders I had received, and I had received them very happily. So the next step for me was to look at the ministries headed by women. So that is why I went to fisheries, I went to industry, and I also went to tourism. So it's not that I like the women or I don't like the men. Because in the first set, education and so on. Now the phase 3 is where I am now. Ministries headed by people running the ministries for the first time. So that's why I'm here. When that phase is done, I will look at the final group, which is the ministries headed by people who used to be ministers or deputy ministers. Okay, so I love you all. Okay, so I think that that explains why we've imposed this kind of order in order to reach everyone. So please work with each other. Your directors, your advisors, your secretaries, your cleaners, everybody plays a role in ensuring the success of the ministry. And the success of the ministry inures to all of you and beyond. It's not about Pablo. It's not even about, it is about Ghana. Put that for you, before you. When the country succeeds, we all succeed. That is why it's important that the president succeeds, because he's the one leading the whole thing. It's not so much, I'm doing this so that this person succeeds or that person doesn't succeed. When the rain doesn't fall, that's what it is. When the sun shines too much, that's what it is. So I'm just saying that there are so many people I believe who may not be in this room. We are here. And everything we do, we should be mindful of them. Especially those in the lower ranks. We should be very, very mindful of them. When everything is said and done, we are talking about ordinary human beings like ourselves.
You can't wait another for us to get it, but we are very happy that you've honored us with your presence. Thank you.
At this juncture, we'll take a group photograph outside downstairs. Or you want to say a vote of thanks? Thank you.
indeed, your presence means a lot to us. It is not only historic and unprecedented, but also prophetic, like I said. When the queens visited mortal beings, Queen of Sheba, for example, visited Solomon, it was